So this video is on the damage done to magic cards while shuffling them unsleeved. The unfortunate thing is there isn't a lot of quantitative information in this video, despite my early attempts to do so. And honestly, there isn't a lot of qualitative information either. So what it was going into this video, I was playing Alpha 40, and I was shuffling my deck unsleeved, playing it unsleeved on occasion. And I was wondering how much money I was burning through every time I shuffled that deck unsleeved. So I took a stack of cards, I went through my boxes, I found I had a lot of Mercadian Masques cards that were in basically mint condition. Never been used, never been played. I remember buying boxes of Mercadian Masques. So I took a stack of 60 cards, and I decided I was going to shuffle that stack of 60 cards. How many times was I going to shuffle it? Some preliminary work said 7 shuffles gives something close to random. I've since found several people online that contradict that say, there's a lot more to it in terms of statistics, in terms of it being random or not. But that was the number I went with. So despite it being incorrect, I counted 7 shuffles, riffle shuffles, as part of the randomness, and then I did 3 overhand shuffles. Usually when I riffle shuffle or I pile shuffle, I'll overhand a couple times just because I'm not doing it correctly. I end up maybe with something at the top or the bottom that's not being properly, cut or whatever. So I considered 7 riffle shuffles, 3 overhand shuffles to be the amount of shuffles for one game. And so I figured, well, let's do 1,000 games. So I took a stack of 60 cards from Mercadian Masques, and I riffle shuffled it 7,000 times, overhand shuffled it 3,000 times, and I kind of did in like 100 shuffle blocks. A 100 shuffle block was like 20 minutes of shuffling, something like that. So there was a significant amount of time invested in this, and actually the first time I did it, I powered through 1,000 riffle shuffles, and I had some blisters on my fingers, so it was kind of funny. So anyway, I made a boatload of videos, and they're painful to watch. There's really no data. I'm holding cards up to the camera trying to get good pictures of them. Really, for the first 100 shuffles, the first 100 games of shuffles, so first 700 riffle shuffles, 300 overhand shuffles, there wasn't a lot of kind of damage to the cards. They went from kind of a near mint to an LP plus, maybe, near mint minus. From 100 to 200, it wasn't that bad either, but around like 215, 220, I started to notice wear showing up on all the cards right on the back of them. So that kind of like, it went quickly from like an LP to like an MP kind of level, and I really wish I would have got scans of that kind of level. That was kind of the most interesting level, that there was like kind of a pretty quick breakdown from where I'd say, this looks pretty good, to it's getting some wear to it. Starting at 500, 500 games, so was at 35,000, 3,500, 3,500 riffle shuffles. I started to scan them every 100, so I'd take just a random set of 4 cards, scan them face down, scan the back of the other cards. So I did that for 5, 6, 7, 8, 900, and 1,000 games worth of cards. So eventually at 1,000 games, it was 7,000 riffle shuffles, 3,000 overhand shuffles. And I was going to continue on with this and try to take it to 10,000 games, but really it's a huge time sink, even though I kind of like had it in my drawer at work for when I had free time that I was trying to kill. So anyway, I'm saying it's not very useful information because the people I've presented this idea to, they say, well, the different sets had different printings, they had different card stock, they had different qualities. So to say that this deck of Mercadian Masques is representative of Magic as a whole is kind of folly. If I really wanted to do things right, I could have taken 60 cards from 60 different sets, shuffled it up and seen if there was a difference, so that would have been testing multiple variables. But the wear across the cards is very consistent. I did lose 1 card in the course of all this, so it's a 59 card deck. I can't say if that's because they were unsleeved or, just because it's a lot of shuffling. So it went down to 59 cards. I had to do a couple counter shuffles, a lot of bending the cards, because riffle shuffling is hard on the cards. I found that the majority of the wear, or at least where I think the majority of the wear comes from, is when you're doing the riffle shuffle, and the cards are kind of pushed together like that, and then you force them, so you're getting this wear at the top areas. Interestingly, at least for me, and you'll see this in the scans, but the fronts of the cards don't actually have a ton of wear to them, at least to my eye. But the backs, they kind of wore down nicely, all around the top and bottom edges. So I'm not sure why that is. Usually when I see a card with a lot of wear, it's kind of everywhere. This was all on one side, and again, that's why I'm saying these results are very useful, just because, I might shuffle different than whoever else. And, I wasn't shuffling on play mats, I was shuffling on my knee, shuffling in midair, just because I was, like, bored with it. So, what I'm going to do is just go through these scans. I'm just going to put them in a slideshow and show a couple different cards, the 5, 6, 7, 8, 900, and 1,000 game sections. And just to recap, this stack of cards, to my eye, being that gradient is subjective, went from like near min LP plus to like MP pretty quick at around the 200 mark. And now, to my eye, the back of them's definitely getting into the HP category, but I can't say exactly where that started to happen. It might have been around the 500 mark, maybe around the 700 mark. The front of them though, it's weird. They all look decent, and the extra weird thing about it is, like I said, I did a lot of counter shuffling, which is something you wouldn't normally do. You're not normally gonna shuffle your cards face up. That kind of defeats the purpose of trying to randomize the order. Normally, if you were riffle shuffling the same deck, you'd just do that, kind of work it in the other direction real quick a couple times. But that's what I observed. And to kind of get to the point, it would have been nice if I had some quantifiable data to say, after 500 games, you're losing a grade, and my LP cards are going to go to near MP cards, and I have this many of them, so my alpha deck would lose this much. But also, in the meantime, I stopped playing Unsleeved because I played at some bar and the tables were sticky, and, well, I don't use a playmat, so whatever. Anyway, enjoy. So this is just kind of the end of the video. I've got scans that I took of the cards at 500 through 1,000 games of shuffling, and I've just taken 2 cards and shown them the front and the back. You can see the fronts in all these look better than the backs. I'm not sure if it's something to do with the printing or what, but that seemed to be the case in what I observed. At the very end of this, I have just a compilation video where I just show the edges of the tops and backs of cards at each level, just so you can see that progressive wear as it's occurring. Again, by the end of it, I thought these cards would just be destroyed. I had no idea how many times a card had been played when I see these, beat cards, but it seems to be over 1,000 games. So that's good news in terms of how these cards hold up. But again, what do these numbers mean? Not a lot. We all shuffle differently. We all use different pressure. Apparently different, obviously the newer sets, but even the older sets have different card stocks, printing styles, and other things that can affect things. But this is interesting information, at least for me, and hopefully you got something useful out of this video.